Hello everyone, welcome back to the Dollhouse. I have seen a lot of people in this community lately giving other people a hard time for calling Bratz dolls rare, uncommon, very expensive, hard to find, etc. Any adjective you can think of. I think this criticism is understandable because it's coming from a place of care and concern for the doll community. However, there is a time and a place within this community to use these labels where it's appropriate to do so, and the word rare does apply to several Bratz dolls. In my opinion, it is unfair to say that no Bratz dolls whatsoever are rare or hard to find, because this is simply not true. People throw around the word rare too much in this community, but this is because of perceived value and not true rarity. So let's start this video off by giving the word rare its proper definition. The definition of the word rare suggests extreme scarcity or infrequency, and often implies consequent high value. This is the true definition of the word, and I'm going to use this definition as a guide for determining what is and is not a rare Bratz doll in this video. I personally believe that most people think that a doll is rare because the doll in question is very popular, and because a lot of people want to have that doll in their collection, but that does not make a doll rare. Although some of the dolls on this list are rare, they may not be expensive because they are not as in demand as other dolls are. Perceived value drives prices, and not true rarity sometimes, and that is currently what is at play in the doll market right now when it comes to Bratz dolls specifically. Any Bratz doll made before 2010, however, was mass-produced and sold widely in a variety of different chain and department stores across the world, and the only time that they weren't mass-produced was when they were country or region exclusive or limited edition dolls, so a lot of the dolls people have referred to as rare are not in fact rare if you see things from this perspective. In fact, an article published in 2006 claimed that 125 million Bratz dolls had been sold worldwide by that point in time, and although there is no way to get an accurate estimate of how many dolls were sold from each line, or in total, we can assume for the sake of this argument that there are still a lot of Bratz dolls all over the world left to collect that are in good condition. Even though some dolls like Campfire Felicia and Dana only had 2 waves of production in comparison to other Campfire Bratz dolls like Chloe, that does not make Felicia rare, but that does make her a little bit harder to find. There are a lot of dolls that have become hard to find or expensive because a lot of people want the same doll for their collection as other people do, but they don't come with a high price tag because they are rare or hard to find. They come with a high price tag because they are popular. Other people tend to think that a Bratz doll is valuable because they are currently selling for hundreds of dollars, but much like Beanie Babies, Bratz dolls will decrease in value eventually. However, what we are seeing in today's market is not even that high of a price to pay for a doll, because the most expensive doll ever sold was a Madame Alexander Eloise doll. This doll was made by hand by Madame Alexander, and some of the features that help add to the value of the doll are that it is dressed in Oscar de la Renta fur, Christian Dior clothes, and Catherine Bowman accessories, among other products from various luxurious fashion brands, and this doll is also covered in Swarovski crystals. There are also only 5 of these dolls around the globe, and this doll cost someone $5 million. The next example that comes to mind is the Pink Splendor Barbie. The Pink Splendor Barbie is the most expensive retail Barbie ever sold on store shelves, and she was originally priced at a whopping $900. Is this normal pricing for dolls? No. These prices are very expensive. But in comparison to the prices I just stated, paying something like $400 for a Felicia doll sounds affordable from this perspective, so it depends on how you look at the situation regarding scalpers and high prices within the Bratz community overall. Also, in my first video here on this channel, I mentioned that the prices of Bratz dolls can easily be driven up by eager collectors that have extra money to spend, and they are willing to go as high as necessary with their bids in order to get the dolls. And this also contributes to high prices and perceived rarity within the Bratz doll community. Yes, Bratz dolls can still be priced ridiculously no matter what we do as collectors to bring down the prices, but you can still find a good deal on dolls you want if you're patient and dedicated. Before you fire up your keyboard to type out a comment to tell me that this list I'm about to present to you in this video is pointless, inaccurate, or misleading to fans, please remember that these are just facts I found online and not my opinions, so save your judgments for the end of this video. This list is not about perceived rarity, so Felicia is not on this list, and neither is Passion for Fashion Dresden or Sabina, nor will you see other dolls typically referred to as rare or hard to find on this list, such as Live in Concert Nevra. This video is about Bratz dolls that are in fact rare by definition. Anyways, without further delay, let's get into the list. This may seem like an easy first place to someone outside of this community, or obvious to some people, but in my opinion, it's not a commonly shared belief within this community that prototype dolls are the rarest. In general, prototype Bratz dolls, not samples, tend to be one of a kind. Some people own prototypes that were never sold in stores, and sometimes only one copy of a prototype exists. So if you have a prototype Bratz doll, chances are you have the only doll like it in the world. A one-of-a-kind Bratz doll is the definition of rare. For example, Berry Bread owns a Space Angels Chloe prototype with unique packaging, and that is likely one of the only Chloe dolls in the world that came in this packaging. Another example of this would be Lookin' Bratz's small Bratz Babies Felicia. No, we're not talking about a Babies Felicia with rooted hair. We are talking about a regular-sized Felicia with plastic pigtails. Some of these prototypes look identical to the dolls that were released, and if they weren't in unique packaging, it would be very hard to tell if they were prototypes, but some of these dolls are incredibly unique and very obvious and easy to spot. Prototypes are usually very hard to find because you need to seek out a seller that has connections to someone working for MGA or the factory overseas that produces the Bratz dolls, or you need to know these people yourselves. It is hard to say how much you would have to be willing to pay to buy your own prototypes because it depends on how much the seller thinks they are worth. Also, now that the Bratz brand is over 20 years old, it is highly unlikely that as years pass, we are going to see more prototypes available than what was around in the 2000s for sale online. The more time that goes by, the less likely it will be that a prototype is discovered and put up for sale online. The second rarest or hardest to find Bratz doll on this list would be V-Files, aka Bad Gal Vivi, a character made in collaboration with a company called V-Files. V is written as an intern for the fashion company V-Files, and only appeared as a Bratz doll once, and in a video on YouTube uploaded to the official Bratz channel. Only 290 V-Files dolls were made. It is unknown whether or not all of these V-Files dolls sold. Not very many people know about V-Files because she was produced after 2010, but she is the best example of a limited edition Bratz release I could find. The third rarest on this list would be the Secret Date dolls in-box with Bryce. There was a 1 in 24 chance of getting Bryce, so any in-box Secret Date dolls with Bryce as the mystery guy are hard to find because the odds of getting Bryce were low, and the odds of getting another boy doll as the mystery date were much higher. There is a 4% probability of getting Bryce and a 96% probability of getting another outcome, such as getting Cameron or Dylan instead. That means that out of every 100 Secret Date dolls made and sold in stores, only 4 of them would have had Bryce. This is why the Secret Date dolls are on this list. They were mass-produced, but Bryce was hard to find even when the dolls were still being sold in stores. The fourth spot on this list goes to the 24-inch Bratz Megan, Chloe, and Yasmin dolls because only 100,000 were made, and they are numbered. Yasmin and Chloe seem to be regularly available and are usually not very expensive, but Megan is the hardest big Bratz doll to find, particularly in box in good condition because the box was primarily made of cardboard, so it dented very easily and was hard to store nicely due to the large size of the doll and the box it came in. By definition, they are limited edition. If you have a limited edition collector's doll that is numbered as the first one made, or you have a number lower than 100, you have a very unique Bratz doll on your hands because a lot of the ones listed for sale are numbered 1,000 plus. The last spot on this list goes to Spring Fling, Independence, the limited edition Beach Party, Sweetheart, New Year's Celebration, and any other regular sized Bratz dolls that were made in limited quantities. Although these dolls are relatively easy to find online nowadays, they were still made in limited quantities, and unless we get more reproductions of these lines, we are left with however many dolls out of roughly 100,000 that were made. It is likely that not all 100,000 of each doll from every limited edition line was sold, so there may be even less than 100,000 of each of them left in circulation. I am specifically referring to the dolls that are labeled as limited edition, and these dolls usually have a year printed on the plastic part of the packaging and a number that identifies what doll it is out of the collection. Once again, bonus points to you if you have a limited edition collector's doll that is numbered as the first one made, or if you have a number lower than 100, you have a very unique Bratz doll on your hands because a lot of the ones listed for sale today are numbered 60,000 plus out of 100,000. These are all examples of Bratz dolls that were sold in limited supply and are rare by definition. I could have made this list longer, but I think you get the idea. I am not trying to discredit the opinions of other people by posting this list either. I'm simply trying to illustrate why I think it's wrong to say that there are no Bratz that are rare in existence. You are allowed to disagree with me, and you are obviously entitled to your own opinions on this subject. I do not consider myself to be an authority on this topic. I'm just a fan of Bratz dolls who enjoys doing research online. This list may be inaccurate. I say this because I may have missed out on some more limited edition Bratz doll releases that didn't come up during my searches on Google, but I believe that my day and a half's worth of research is good enough for this video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and until next time.